We'll go back over to the VIX. And again, I've covered these kind of in component, fragments or components over time, in terms of strategy to play volatility. Um, but I'll kind of walk you through it because for me, it's more of a cycle, where I'm often playing the VIX to both sides. For instance, I recently just sold calls on the VIX when it was up in this area. So when VIX is up here, at a key resistance level, I did this in in my hedge fund. I sold VIX calls. So I just sold a naked call. And as the VIX comes back, so when VIX is up at major resistance levels, I'll uh, I'll look at selling call premium. So you could sell a naked call, um, or you could do a call spread, so a credit spread. So you have more defined risk. So you could sell a call or a vertical call spread, so credit spread, bring in premium. And then when the VIX comes back down, you capture that premium. Okay, so that's what I've done recently on a retreat in the VIX. And we've covered a lot of different adjustment techniques, because there is like while I didn't sell calls at some of the what was prior resistance down in the kind of 22 to 23 range. If I had, you're right, I would have had a little pain there for a week or two. But there's ways to adjust these. So if I sell call premium and the VIX isn't done spiking, I can roll those call contracts out and wait for the VIX to come back down. So the really cool thing about the VIX is it's a true mean reverting product, and it's quite predictable in terms of we might necessarily know exactly when it's going to spike and come back down, but uh, the retreat in the VIX is generally much easier to time because a VIX spike uh, very rarely lasts very long. So anytime we do get a VIX spike, I like to start selling call premium. And so you can leg in the calls. I might begin selling calls at a resistance level. Again, I just kind of recently just sold them all up in this area, but um, I could have been selling calls along the way here. Again, you can adjust those by rolling them out in expiration, waiting for the VIX to come back down. Um, and again, you can do a call spread instead of in lieu of a naked call. Um, but this component of the full VIX volatility strategy, you reserve for when the VIX spikes up to a key resistance level. So this all ties into obviously mapping out, knowing where your resistance levels are. Um, and then when the VIX is back down at lower levels, right, so you don't want to buy puts when the VIX is high. Okay, it's not what you think. You're going to get vol crushed when the VIX comes back down. Um, it's not like a stock where if you buy puts and the stock goes down, the puts increase, right? It's not going to work that way. So this is all I do when I get a VIX spike, sell call premium. And then when the VIX comes back down, there are really two strategies. Well, more than two, but two kind of basic methodologies that I use. And that is to sell put premium and buy call premium. And you can do those individually and this is why I'm watching this support zone because I'm getting ready to do this. Okay, we'll kind of get back down into this support zone. Again, we're right at the upper range of it. Right, so if we can get down a little lower, it'd be great to sell like a 15 or even a 14 strike put if possible, if we get down low enough. But even selling puts somewhere in this 15 to 17 range, I think is reasonable if you're willing to manage the position and potentially roll it a few times. But you can see how that can work really nicely, right? If you're just selling put premium all along the way, and then you're getting some VIX spikes, right? Capturing that put premium, it's relatively low maintenance strategy. Um, okay, so and that brings in uh, income as well. So these are kind of the two. So down here, let's see, well, I shouldn't draw an arrow. That's kind of deceiving. So here we sell puts. And again, in lieu of a naked put, single leg naked put, you could do a put spread, put credit spread. Okay, but these are the two selling strategies. Down, so we sell puts it down at support, sell calls up at resistance. Um, and that brings in some premium, which is of course capped at, the max profit potential is the premium collected. Where the big money can be made is buying call premium when the VIX is down. So that's the other thing, other methodology that we use when VIX is at low levels is to buy calls. And here I prefer to do a call spread. You can buy naked calls, just a single leg call. Uh, but I generally prefer to do wide call spread. So I'll often do like a 10-point wide spread if the VIX gets down low enough. So recently I've done like some 20, 30 call spreads, right? So, buying the 20 strike, selling the 30 strike, 10-point wide spread. Those have a lot of profit potential on a VIX spike with defined risk, right? Your risk there is defined at the premium you pay for the options. And then these two can be used in combination with each other. You can sell put premium. We've talked about this in past sessions, right? You can sell put premium and even use that to finance the cost of your calls. So that's beautiful because if you do this strategically and you really know where your levels are, you might be selling 15 or 16 strike put premium, but you're just not getting, like maybe back here, you're not getting a VIX spike, but you're staying above your key level of support, capturing all the credit from the premium, which you've used to finance the cost of the call premium. And you essentially have a free trade if you don't get that big VIX spike, right? Because your puts paid for your calls. So I like to do these in combination. I don't always do them in combination, but I often like to do those in combination. Um, and then of course, if you do get a VIX spike, you just add to your profit, right? You still capture the put premium, but then you have opportunity to make money on the calls. Okay, so this is a continuous cycle where you're just selling calls, capturing the premium, selling puts, buying calls, capturing the premium, selling calls, capturing the premium, selling puts, buying calls, capturing the premium, selling calls, so on. So it's just a cycle. So I'm not always, 100% of the time in a VIX volatility position, but most of the time I am. Okay. So like once once the VIX has fallen, okay, or in the midst of falling, I maybe captured all the call premium from selling up at a higher resistance level. And this is where I am right now. I'm out of the VIX, okay, because it's already played out. So now I'm just waiting again. So there's little periods in between where I'll wait. Um, but when you're at the key levels, okay, that's where you take action. And then as far as expirations, um, they differ a little bit. So in the support part of the cycle, so that's down here, right? I sell fairly short dated puts, so I usually just go out 1 week, right? So your VIX options expire each week, right? On Wednesday, so the new contracts roll over, and I just go out to the next following week's expiration and sell more put premium. Okay, as long as the VIX is down at support. But it differs from buying the calls. So we don't get significant VIX spikes as often. So for buying calls, I'll typically go 30 to 60 days to expiration. Okay. And generally more towards the 60 days. That doesn't mean I'm going to hold the trade that long. Okay. I may only hold the trade for a week, maybe even a couple days. It just all depends when the VIX spikes. But I want to give the trade plenty of time, for there to be a VIX spike. So the expiration cycles are different here. Now for selling calls, when the VIX is up at resistance, also short duration there, right? You don't want to go far out in expiration because we know VIX spikes don't last very long. And when you get a significant spike, it comes down usually equally as fast. See how long this VIX spike took? It took roughly the same amount of time for it to come back down. See how long this VIX spike took? Right? Only a couple days. Well, it only took a couple days for it to come back down. So it's kind of a good rule of thumb. Not, it doesn't always work that way, but generally the amount of time it takes for it to go up is how long it takes for it to come down. So you can use that as a kind of a rule of thumb or a guide, but generally short duration here. So I generally will probably only go out like a week in expiration when I sell call premium. Okay. But so this is all, I think the best way to look at all this, it's all really just a cycle, right? And just and the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, and you feel like you could do it without even really thinking about it. You just know where the VIX is, you know where the key levels are, and you just do it like clockwork. Okay. So those are kind of and again, in the past, I've broken these down kind of individually, but haven't really ever positioned them as more of like a full strategy and cycle. So I thought it would be important to kind of paint that picture that it's not just a one-time trade, right? And then, knowing when to initiate the different types of trades within this strategy or system is important.